you? Yoinky, Splinky, I'm gonna hit your doinky. Yoinky, Splinky, I'm gonna hit your ball. Your dick.
Him and his mother. He once poured hot tea over her and put her in the hospital several times. His brother is an addict. He literally built an empire out of nothing. He credits his mother as his biggest inspiration. Often has repeated in his shows. When he left his first restaurant, he brought the successful Jerry Maguire. The entire kitchen staff went with him. That tells you what he's like to work with. From the first to give a restaurant to a female chef. He went to prison, poured him behind bars, taught inmates to bake, and the term Book of the Dead doesn't really give you perspective to how big a lot of Egyptian funerary texts are. Imhotep's Book of the Dead is 64 feet long. Okay, but a lot of books would be that long if you lay the pages out. The average printed page is 6 inches wide, so if a book is 128 pages, it's 64 feet long. I don't think I own a book with fewer than 128 pages. It's honestly not that impressive at all. Imhotep and his pathetic short book. The term Book of the Dead doesn't really give you perspective to how big a lot of Egyptian funerary texts are. Imhotep's Book of the Dead is 64 feet long. Okay, but a lot of books would be that long if you lay the pages out. The average printed page is 6 inches wide. So if a book is 128 pages, it's 64 feet long. I don't think I own a book with fewer than 128 pages. It's honestly not so impressive at all. Imhotep and his pathetic short book. The term Book of the Dead doesn't really give you perspective to how big a lot of Egyptian. After a long day, I cannot focus on. It's the dumbest reason someone got mad. One, ex-girlfriend and I were both sick. I was napping while she was studying. I wake up and she is giving me the silent treatment, which is her method of being upset with me. Apparently, I somehow offended her while I was asleep. Ridiculous. I later found out that she had came over to me while I slept and blew her nose or coughed, and I did not wake up or show concern. Seriously. Two, my son got mad with put apple chunks and oatmeal. He asked for apple chunks and three. My wife occasionally wakes up mad at me based on something I did to annoy her and bring it to me. Four. Teacher threw me out of class in high school when I answered a question correctly because she thought I was sleeping in class. Still bothers me to this day. Five. And screamed at me because I wouldn't accept her return on a newly used toaster she purchased 5 years ago at a store that doesn't even exist in Canada. I do not work at a place that sells toasters. Six. This total stranger at the bus stop.
No.
He sneezed and I said, "Bless him." He replied angrily, "That means it sneezed." It was a cough. I said, "Sorry, thought it was a sneeze." And he yelled, "Well, it wasn't." He was angry at Paul for pushing. Said, "This is the meanest thing you could ever call a game, but the reason why is low-key hilarious. See, games journalists have a pretty bad reputation, especially on the internet, because it feels like every months they end up giving a game that everybody loves an absolutely dog shit review. Not because of any legitimate criticism or anything, but because they're so bad at the game, they can't give it a fair chance. It happened most recently to Hollow Knight's Silksong, but they've done it by is low-key hilarious. This is the meanest thing you could ever call a game, but the reason why is low-key hilarious. The games journalists have a pretty bad reputation, especially on the internet. Because it feels like every few months they end up giving a game that everybody loves an absolutely dog shit review. Not because of any legitimate criticism or anything, but because they're so bad at the game, they can't give it a fair chance. It happened most recently to Hollow Knight Silksong, but they've done this shit to everything from Pokemon to Rain. It's insane, and people have been mad about it for a long time. But it didn't become an insult until 2017, back when Cuphead came. When game journalists had to review it, they gave it pretty good scores, but they would not shut up about how insanely hard it was, only for the fact of them actually playing it to come out and like, so now, thanks to this video, calling somebody in a games conference is the best way to say that they're trash at video. This is the meanest thing you could ever call a game. But the reason, and with that, that's a bit like wild shade snail. Then the bandit, a snail, their boot. Oh, you've activated my trap car. Oh, snail. None of those words mean anything. Oh, my dears, sweet, uneducated dungeon master. Cone snail, or Conus borealis, has one of the world's most fatal and painful stings. They fire a harpoon that can cause muscle paralysis and respiratory failure in their victims. God! In fact, they often nicknamed the cigarette snail because it said once you've been stung by one, you have enough time to smoke a cigarette before you die. It's terrifying. I want to play something truly terrifying again. This world says species across the world. What would that be? And with that, I had to make my wild-shaped snail. Then the bandit has crush snaps with their boots. You fool! You're not getting a hot cat. There's this huge misconception that a 1-year-old dog is equivalent to a 7-year-old human, because that's sort of what we've long been taught. A one dog year is always equivalent to 7 human years. Dogs don't age like humans do, and dogs actually fly through their early years. By the time they turn 1, they're more developmentally similar to a 15-year-old teenager. By their second birthday, they're more similar to a fully developed 24-year-old. Once they reach that second year milestone, their aging slows down dramatically. Next few years, not too much changes. A 5-year-old dog is about 36 in human years, which isn't too far off from the 7-year version you hear about. This stays pretty consistent for the later years, and when your dog reaches 10, it still falls somewhere in that 65 to 70 age range. After that, it slows down even more, with a 16-year-old dog being the equivalent to their mid-80s. There is this huge misconception that a 1-year-old dog is equivalent to a 7-year-old human, because that's sort of what we've long been.
I treat. College owns the right to all works, inventions, developments, and discoveries created by employees or students.
You're kidding. We invented this.
Yes, but on school property and using school resources.
What's this, Chancellor?
It's my book.
And what income did you derive from the book?
I learned the facts and figures from my fingertips.
I do. Now, it's mostly students being required to buy it as a textbook. Now, how? Thank you for prompting the chancellor on how to answer my question.
Objection, Your Honor.
It isn't. Thank you. College owns the right to inventions, development, discoveries created by employees, students.
You're kidding. We invented this.
School property.
Chancellor, it's my book.
And income did you derive?
Well, I don't have the facts and figures at my fingertips.
I do. Actually, $71,050.
If warning shots are typically enough, most drug traffickers dog their folks. The gunner on the U.S. Coast Guard helicopter fires these pigeons. But if the suspects don't stop, the gunner grabs his rifle. This time, to kill. Not the boat's person. He shoots to kill the boat. So, but stop. The thing is, some drug smugglers know about this. Quickly run, cover their boat's engines with their own. Yes.
What fact is common knowledge in the field, but almost unknown to the rest of the population? One, there is no fractured versus broken. There are only different types of fractures. It's really a semantic problem, but patients get heated about it. Two, generally speaking, If you add the percentage of the body covered in third-degree burns and the person's age together, you get the life